Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a interactive dashboard in Tableau. And as usual, we're going to start the way we always do. I'm going to open up our Superstore's Excel file. I'm going to drag orders onto the Data Connect screen, and then I'm going to build four fairly straightforward visualizations that we're going to use in our dashboard. The first one is something where we're going to look at overall profit by category. And I should start by saying that this dashboard is going to help to answer the question as to whether or not we should stop selling our least profitable items. And at first glance, you might ask, do we even need to ask that question or build visualizations looking at it? If products are not profitable, then clearly we should stop selling them. But when you ask a question like, is a product profitable, it's not necessarily a yes or a no answer. Has it always been unprofitable? Was it ever profitable? Was it unprofitable and now is becoming profitable? There's really a maybe in that answer. Certainly some things may have always been unprofitable and therefore probably should be things that we eliminate from our inventory for sale, but it's not as simple a question as it first appears. So with that said, with that overall question in mind, let's build some visualizations that could help answer the question, and then we'll build an interactive dashboard that will let a user come to their own conclusions. So I'm going to take subcategory and I'm going to drop it on rows, and then I'm going to take profit and I'm going to drop it on columns, and then I'm also going to take category. I'm going to create a filter and drop it on the filter shelf. I'm going to say I want to see all categories, and then I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go ahead and sort this as well. Actually, let's sort it this way so we could see our categories. I forgot to click on show filter. So now we see all our categories, or excuse me, our subcategories. And if I want, I could just look at my furniture subcategories or my office supplies, etc. We've seen how filters work. So that's a simple one, and clearly just on this visualization it looks like, hey, maybe we should stop selling tables and bookcases and supplies. These things are not profitable. But let's continue building visualizations in our dashboard before we answer the question. This I'm going to call our top 10 least profitable products. Let's see if I could type profitable products. And here I'm going to take product name and I'm going to drag it to rows. And we've got lots of products, 1,850 products. I'm going to take profit and I'm going to add that on my columns. And I have something that's pretty, not very useful to examine just because there's 1,850 items. But what I'm going to do is take product name and I'm going to add it to my filter shelf, and I'm going to create, let's see, I'll try that one more time. And what I'm going to do is create a top filter. Now we haven't made one use this up to this point, but I'm going to create a top filter. And what a top filter allows us to do is to filter, in this case we're going to filter products based on a particular criteria. And the criteria I'm going to use is a particular field, and that field is going to be profit. And rather than looking at the top 10 profitable items, I want to look at the bottom 10. And clearly, as you know by now, I could change that to see the bottom 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. Let's create a parameter. And I'm going to say bottom N products. That's what we're going to call it. We'll leave it at 10, and we'll leave everything else the same here. I'm going to say OK. And then I am going to say OK. Notice that we now have something called bottom end products, and we have this slider now over here, so I could change that, right? So as I change it from 10 to 28 to whatever, we're seeing different products. So let's go ahead and change that back to 10. That's where we were. And we're going to leave everything else as it was. Now, by doing that, I've introduced some interactivity to this visualization that will carry over to the dashboard. The more interactivity that will carry over to the dashboard. And the more interactivity that you can include in your assignment, the better the score of your assignment is going to be. I'm going to take category and I'm going to add it to the color mark just so we could distinguish between the different categories more easily in terms of products. Which of these products are furniture or office supplies or technology? And it might be surprising that the bottom 10 items that are least profitable are in the technology category. When earlier, right, if we look at this visualization, tables, which is in the furniture category, are the overall least profitable items. So that's why the question that we're asking is not as simple as it may appear. I'm going to create another visualization. We're going to call this profit by state, and this is going to be a fairly simple map visualization. So I'm going to double click on state. I am going to drag profit to the color shelf, and we've basically seen this before. And I think what I'm going to do is add the labels. I may play around with that and change that later on, but for right now, we'll leave it with the labels on. That's it. Very simple visualization. I'm going to click on our another sheet. This is going to be our last visualization that we need before we create our dashboard, and this one is going to examine a profit trend. So I'm going to drag order date to columns, and I'm going to change this. I want to look at quarters, and I want to look at it continuous. So Q1 for 2016, etc. I'm going to drag profit to rows. All right, and so now we have, and we've seen this before, but with sales, and certainly the profit is showing us the same type of seasonality. The next thing I'm going to do is click on the analytics pane, and I'm going to drop the trend line onto this graph. Remember, this is really our regression line, and I've talked in my step-by-step notes. It talks about putting on confidence bands. I'm going to leave them off. I think as we build a dashboard, they can get a bit distracting, and I think just looking at the trend line is going to be more meaningful. So now we've got these 4 visualizations. I'm going to create a dashboard by clicking on the dashboard icon. And now we're looking at our dashboard. And clearly the view has changed a little bit. Rather than seeing all our data, we now have a dashboard tab and a layout tab. And in our dashboard tab, we have, in this case, the 4 visualizations that we've created. And by placing our mouse over each one, we could get a quick snapshot of what the visualizations are, just so that we can make sure which one we're using and if we want to do it. I want to rename the dashboard. Is least profitable always profitable? So let's go ahead and do that. Is least profitable always unprofitable? And you'll notice that unlike in a worksheet, the name of the dashboard doesn't become a title. unless we click right here or check off this box, show dashboard title, and then it does. And it's because that you could create your own title or titles using text boxes and things like that. But we're going to keep it simple and just have the name of the dashboard become the title. Then we're going to drag these views onto the dashboard, and it's as simple as clicking and dragging them into our dashboard area. And you'll notice that when you move a particular view on the dashboard area, it sort of grays out the area, and that indicates where the view is going to go. Since this is our first view, it's going to take up the entire space. But now I'm going to take the top 10, and you'll notice that I could place it to the left or to the right or to the top or to the bottom. I'm going to place it to the right of the overall profit by category, so I have these two next to each other. Then I'm going to take profit by state, and I want to drag that to the bottom of overall profit by category. And then finally, I'm going to take profit trend, and I am going to drop it on the bottom of the top 10 least profitable products. Okay, so now we've got all four of our views on the dashboard, and you'll also notice that we have the various filters and legends and things like that included as well. So there's already a bit of interactivity. It's the same interactivity that we had before, where I could adjust the least profitable products. And actually, I'm going to go back here because now that I forgot that I included that parameter, so I'm just going to call this least profitable products rather than top 10, since we could obviously adjust that. And now what I'm going to do is some things that are aesthetic in nature and some things that are going to add to the interactivity of this particular dashboard. The first one is aesthetics. I'm going to go to our category filter right here, and I'm just going to change it. And what I'm doing is really trying to increase the space available to view the visualizations in my dashboard. So I'm just going to click on that and choose the More Options drop-down menu. And then here are all the different options I have for displaying the filter options. And I'm going to choose single value drop-down. So now it saved a little bit of space, and now I could just look at my office supplies. I could look at furniture if I want to look at the overall category. I could look at technology if I want to look at that, and then go back to all. So I've done that. But you'll notice that as I was doing that, as I let's do this one more time. When I look at office supplies, the only thing that's changing is this particular visualization. Nothing else, none of these other visualizations were affected by this filter. But in a dashboard, you can modify that if it makes sense, and in this case it does. If I'm just looking at office supplies, when I'm looking at the profit of these subcategories, it would probably make sense to only look at office supply least profitable items, and rather than looking at profit within each state for everything, just for office supplies, and the trend line just for office supplies. So we can do that and do that fairly easily by, again, I'm going to go to our drop-down menu, and then I'm going to go to Apply to Worksheets. And what this is telling Tableau is we want to apply this filter to particular worksheets. And in this case, I'm going to say all, meaning all worksheets, using this data source. This data source means our Superstore Excel spreadsheet. They're all four of these visualizations come from that data source. So if I choose this, then the filter is going to apply to all. So as soon as I do that, notice already that all of these other three visualizations change. Now I'm just looking at least profitable office supplies. The values in the profit by state certainly changed, and our profit trend changed as well. So now we can look at everything, or we can look at any of these individual items. Okay, so that has increased our the interactivity again. Now, the next things I'm going to do is, again, add some really aesthetics to this. So we now have this category filter that's applied, that's impacting everything. I'm going to move this. Basically, I want to get rid of everything on this right-hand side, all the filters and legends and stuff. This part of the filters and legends that you see here is referred to as a grip, and I'm going to click on that grip, create a text object, and what I'm making right now is simply a menu. And when you're doing your assignment, you should definitely consider this as well, so that I know what I'm doing or what you want me to do in your dashboard. So the first step I want anyone using this dashboard to do is to select a category from the drop-down menu. Okay. After that, I want them to select a product, or excuse me, to select a subcategory below, and then I want them to select a product. All right, so I'm moving, as you can see, although with great difficulty, these, there we go. This is what I wanted. I want to have the drop down next to, on top of my overall product, and here is my text box. I forgot to put in the number 3. So there we go. Now I've got my text box with my menu, and now we're ready to go. Sorry about all of that confusion. So here we are. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take the profit legend, which I'm not sure we actually need, but we'll keep it. I'm going to drop it below the profit by state, because that's where that's what it's associated with, and I'm going to shrink that down as much as possible so that we're seeing as much of the state as possible. And then I am going to remove the category filter altogether, because we don't really need that. So I'm just going to exit that off, and then this is the bottom end products I'm going to add to the bottom of this, so that the slider is here, and again I'm going to shrink that down as much as possible. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, you'll notice in the overall profit by category we have this slider bar. Sometimes people are not going to are not going to even notice that. They may look at this and just see, think that these are our subcategories. The same thing here for our least profitable items. We've got this slider bar. So whenever there's a slider bar, what you can do, you don't have to do this, but I think it makes the most sense. And obviously it depends on the visualization you're including, but I'm going to choose, I'm clicking on this visualization, overall profit by category. I'm going to move to fit, and I'm going to say entire view. And now I see all of the subcategories. There is no slider bar. Anyone looking at this visualization won't miss anything inadvertently. I'm going to do the same thing for the least profitable products. Click the drop down menu, go to fit, and then entire view. So let's continue on. So we've done quite a lot. I think this dashboard looks better. We've got a couple interactivities built in. If I want to look at office supplies, I'm now looking at office supplies. But if I want to look at a particular subcategory, right, supplies, in office supplies, it has an overall negative profit. If I want to just look at all of the products within that subcategory, then technically it would make sense, and I've actually said that here in our menu, to click on any of these subcategories and then have everything else adjust, right? Have everything else filtered on that particular subcategory. So how can we go about doing that so our dashboard includes that interactivity? I'm going to go back to all. So we're looking at that and show you how to do that. It's also very straightforward. I'm clicking on this view, our overall profit by category view. Again, that's this view right here where we created this category filter. And what I'm going to do is click on this icon that says use as a filter. And what that means is we are now going to use this visualization as a filter, and it'll be applied to everything else on this dashboard. So as soon as I click on that, first of all, the icon changes to a solid color. The other thing, oops, sorry, clicked the wrong way. Let's see how this works now. So if I want to go to office supplies, and if I want to look at my supplies, I can do that. And there are products. We'll come back to the fact that there's only one, but clearly our profit by state is only showing information about the supplies subcategory. And here's our profit trend. It's a downward trend. That does not look very good. That we might want to stop selling supplies altogether. But again, there's more that we could do. So let's continue. And again, this works. If you're looking at all the subcategories, I could click on any of these subcategories, binders, for example, and it's affecting everything else. We'll get to. I'm going to address this in just a second. And remember, binders from earlier lectures. These are a strange subcategory. It's producing quite a lot of profit in California, but quite a lot of loss in states like Texas and Florida and North Carolina and Tennessee, etc. So it's something that we might want to take a look at a bit more. But there's some other interactivity that we want to create. So for example, I would like to also look at a particular product. So where this particular product has the least profit. Did I not sort this? Sorry, let's go ahead and sort that there. I think that's certainly a better view. So this is the least profitable product. It'd be nice if I could click on that and see where we're selling that and what the overall trend just for this product is. And in fact, that's something I've included in our menu. So how can we do that? Well, you might think, well, let's just go ahead and say use this as a filter. But if we use this as a filter, it's going to affect overall profit by category, and that's not what we want. When I click on anything in this view, I just want to see where are we selling it, and is it profitable or not profitable, and what's the trend. So I want this view to become a filter that affects just these two views in my dashboard. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by creating what's referred to as an action filter. So to create an action filter, we go to our menu, and I'm going to choose dashboard, and then I'm going to choose actions. And then in actions, first of all, you'll see there's already a filter generated. That filter that's generated was the result of turning this view into the filter by clicking on the filter icon. I'm going to add an additional one by clicking Add Action, and then I'm going to choose Filter. You can see there's all kinds of different actions that we can choose from. In this case, we're just going to choose Filter, and I'm going to choose, I'm going to name this filter Filter by Product, because that's what we want to be doing. And then you'll notice that this dialog box is separated between source sheets and target sheets. The source sheet is asking which of the 4 views in our dashboard do we want to use as a filter. So it's the least profitable products that we want to use. So I'm going to uncheck the other 3. And then the target sheets is, well, what do you want to be affected by the filter we're creating out of this view? And what we want to be affected by that is profit by state and our profit trend. So I've unchecked the other ones. I want this least profitable product, so this view back here, to be used by someone clicking on a particular mark. So I'm going to choose the option to be select. I'm gonna leave everything else as is here, and then I'm gonna click OK. You can see now we have another filter that we name filter by product, and I'm gonna click on OK. So now you'll notice if I want to just look at, what's happening with this product in the different states and what the profit trend is, I could click on it, and you could see that these two views have been changed. Okay, so we're almost done, but not completely done. We have interactivity in terms of looking at categories. So I could look at furniture. If I want to look at furnishings, I can click on the furnishing, and that's affecting all of our charts. But notice that when I click on the furnishing subcategories, my least profitable products, nothing's appearing there, right? It's blank. It's blank because the parameter is saying, the way we set up this filter is just show me the least, in this case, 10 profitable products. Well, none of those bottom 10 are within the furnishings subcategory. So if I increase that, let's see where we have to get to 30, somewhere in the 30 range, now these items pop up. They're not profitable, but they're not the bottom 10, the bottom 15, the bottom 20. They're in the bottom 30. So what's going? Let me go back to 10. So what's going on is that we have to modify the order in which the filter is working. So let's go back to everything, and let's talk about that for a second. So this filter that we've set up in this view is working just with this view. It's simply taking product name, and let's go ahead and we'll take a look at that filter that we created. Right, so here's the filter that we created. We said based on a parameter, which is right now set at 10, filter out all the products except for those whose profit are the bottom 10 items. Okay, so it's applying that filter first, regardless of anything else that's happening in other views, and in particular the dashboard. So we can modify that and change basically the order in which filters are applied. And to do that, what we have to do is create a context filter. To do that, I'm going to go to our least profitable products view, and I am going to where we've got this action filter. That's the filter that we created. I'm going to go to our drop down menu, and I'm going to say add to context. And you'll notice, first of all, it appears at the very top, and is now grayed out. So we also have to do the same thing with our category filter. So I'm going to say add to context. So now that we have both of those filters. So now let's see what the effect of this is. So now if I look at just the furniture subcategory, now in my least profitable view, I'm seeing currently my bottom 10 of products within the furniture category. If I click on furnishings, I'm seeing the bottom 10 of my products within the furnishings category. If I want to look at the bottom 20, I'm not sure how many products there are in furnishings, but if I want to look at the bottom 25, I can. Now clearly at this point, the fact that we've set this to fit view doesn't really make sense. So actually let's go back and change that so that we have a scroll bar. Okay, so we can kind of scroll through that. So let's go ahead and change that. So we could see, or hopefully you could see, we've now got that that additional interactivity. And again, we created that action filter. So if I want to look at just this particular, whatever this is, these chair mats, I could click on that and see where those are being sold, and see the fact that yeah, these things have barely ever made a profit, and are certainly trending downwards over time. So this certainly might be a product that we want to remove. So we've now created quite a bit of interactivity. And again, if I just want to look at my bottom 20 items, I can, and I could kind of scroll through them and click on each one. Here is a conference table, and I could see that it's been very, up and down in terms of profitability. Maybe this is something we want to get rid of. I could look at this printer. We've only sold it in one state, and we've only just begun to sell it, apparently. So perhaps this is something that we don't want to just get rid of automatically because we're selling it at a loss. Maybe it's just new, and we want to be able to give it a chance. At any rate, we now have the ability to answer the question, is least profitable always unprofitable?